seem any different really to last year. So uh, I think. I think he'll be able to do a job in the championship for them and fill in there whilst they're waiting for certainly Daniel Mortimer, who I think they intended to be their main hooking option this
I
year.
mean, it's an interesting choice. I mean, obviously, you go in season with two options at hooker, and when they're both out, that's always tricky. I mean, obviously, Mortimer's not a first choice hooker by any means, is he? So, he's there to give you a different. He's an extra halfback, isn't he, in many ways?
Yeah,
So you'll expect Hyam to be a bit more conventional, and maybe they need to go back to brass tacks and bullying teams like they used to do. That might be the best option.
fair enough. We'll move on to another sort of old stager. This one announcing his retirement rather than his comeback from retirement. And we've got Leeds prop Keith Galloway has been released by the club after announcing his retirement from professional rugby league. The 32-year-old who won 5 caps for Australia is recovering from an Achilles injury suffered in July last year. The Yorkshire Evening Post reported that he has agreed a deal to play for lower grade Australian side the Oakdale Warriors. Galloway told the club website, "It has been a tough decision, but I know that it is a right one for me and my family."
I'm guessing there was obviously no prospect of him coming back this year. I would presume, and he probably wasn't one of the lowest earners at Leeds. I wouldn't guess. So it probably makes sense from their point of view as well, and also allowing him to go back home and recover properly
Yeah, and
from the injury.
he hasn't really, like, his time there is going to be focused on the fact that he played in that bad year, really, because that was the year where he had all his games pretty much for Leeds. Last year, which was his second year with the Rhinos, was very much injury hit. He didn't. I don't think you would say he let them down necessarily, but he never really took the scruff of the neck of any games for a player who, came in from the NRL. You would have expected he had a couple of years left in him to really hit his straps, and he never really did that, and then injury denied him any chance of proving himself over here, I suppose. So it's always a sad end when
Yeah.
someone has to move out of the professional ranks due to injury, but we wish him well.
Absolutely, no. Yeah, it's always, it's sad when, I mean, at 32. I mean, I look at these players and they are all younger than me now. So it's weird to see him kind of Big Keith looking, saying he's only 32. But yeah, it's you never want you want player to finish on their own terms, don't you?
Exactly. Yeah.
And that's it's always a sad thing.
Right, so we'll rattle through some of the secondary news stories now. So Huddersfield Giants prop Paul Clough, 30. He feels like
Again,
he should
only
be older
30.
than that. Yeah,
Yeah.
has signed a new 2-year deal with the Huddersfield Giants. He was set to be out of contract at the end of this season, but after playing every game of his debut season at the John Smiths last year, he has now committed to stay on with Huddersfield.
Paul Clough's a fantastic player in his year at Bradford, really consistent. I'm glad that it wasn't the kind of the death knell of his Super League career, because he was, he's obviously got a lot to give, very consistent. He's always a 7.5 out of 10 or 8 out of 10 kind of performance guy. Every squad needs a Paul Clough, so that's definitely a good piece of business.
Another couple of stories actually revolving around the Huddersfield club. Jude Rams have completed the signing of Huddersfield Giants forward Shannon Wakeman on an initial 1-month loan. Wakeman made 28 appearances for the Giants last year and featured for Italy in last year's World Cup. However, he has joined the Championship club with a view to remaining there for the rest of the season. Wakeman, though, will be unavailable for the first few weeks spell with a hamstring problem. And I'll throw in as well on the back of that, Huddersfield Giants forward Colton Roche, a bloke you'll know a little bit, has joined the York City Knights on a 1-month loan deal. The 24-year-old returns to Bootham Crescent after making 25 appearances for York in 2014 and 2015. So some loan moves there for Huddersfield, getting some game time into some of the forwards, I suppose. Bit disappointing for Roche, do you think? Or Roach, however you pronounce it.
I don't know. Well, we'll go with either. I guess so. I think it's tricky, isn't it, for these players who kind of have played at Championship levels and then get the chance at Super League. at least to be squad players. And it's tricky sometimes to break into the team, isn't it? I mean, you look at Huddersfield. I mean, they've got some, you look at Kumata'i and Ikehifo and people like that. It's going to be tricky to get in front of these guys, and you're kind of limiting yourself to maybe the odd appearance at East and things like that. So I guess this is the trouble with the squads that you have now. You need to give them the opportunities to play and at least maintain match fitness.
I would have thought, yeah. I was sort of expecting Roach to get a look in when Mike Lawrence went down in, I think, week 2 of the season. I was expecting him to get a look in there because he could have been, given a chance in that background. Now I know they've got a couple of other players already to play in those positions, but I thought they'd be trying to get him in and around the team then. So that one surprised me a little bit more in a weird way than Wakeman, even though Wakeman played loads last year and was a big part of that side. I never really thought he impressed me because he went rubbish last year. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Congratulations, you weren't rubbish.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, as I say, it is tricky for these guys. I mean, you see signed up and you get a chance, but there are only 17 chances, and it's one of those things. And when you're relying on injuries, it's another player to go down for you to get a chance. It's a little bit tricky. I mean, it's entirely unrelated, but I was hoping Bentley would get a shot at St Helens, but obviously. He's also going out on loan, so this is the thing. You've got to save your time, I guess, as well.
It is a little unrelated, but it does help for a segue into the next story, which is that Whitehaven of St William Cooper from St Helens on an initial 1-month loan deal. Cooper, 21, was the captain of St Helens Academy Grand Final winning team of 2016. And played 11 times for the Saints reserve side last year. Meanwhile, fellow Saints youngster halfback Rob Fairclough has joined Championship side Swinton, also on a month's loan. I've got to admit I don't know much about either of those two players, so.
No, well, as I said, they're a team that's going great guns, aren't they? So they've got a surfeit of certainly back rowers and players of that kind of quality.
Yeah, and it's useful getting blokes out on loan, especially because reserve fixtures are going to be the first ones to be wiped off the calendar with the current weather situation.
Yeah, exactly.
A player you might know a bit more about. London Scholars have signed former Bradford Bulls winger Vinny Finnegan, the next great thing, Vinny Finnegan. Finnegan, who's 28, he came through the Bulls Academy and has played for Sheffield, Hunslet, Batley and Keighley. Now finds a home in North London.
Yeah, joining other Bradford lad in Bradford, kind of ex-Bradford player in Maracaro down in Scholars.
Of course, a former Bradford wing pairing.
Wing pairing. I mean, obviously Finnegan, he only played a few times for us. Kind of played. He played on a part-time contract, if I remember correctly, going back.
He was a skinny, tiny young kid, weren't he, when he played for you guys?
He was real. I mean, when you say like some players, you're surprised how young they are. I'm surprised how old he is. I can't believe there's 2 years between Finnegan and Clough. But anyway, yeah. I mean, again, you want a guy to get his chance and get a chance to play, and he's had a few clubs, and hopefully he'll find a settled place at the Scholars.
Well, he seemed to have the odd decent spell. He was at Sheffield a while, if I remember right. At Batley was where I remember seeing him a bit, because I think he was at Batley during that good year.
Yes.
That they had a couple of years ago, so maybe I saw him on TV a couple of times in that spell. But yeah, I'd say good for him that he's found a new club. Another good bit of news in the League One area of our sport is League One side Oldham have confirmed that the RFL has granted them special dispensation to use their Vestacre Stadium home for home games in 2018, despite it not meeting the normal minimum required criteria. The club said in a statement on Wednesday that they acknowledge the fact that the ground does not meet the minimum requirement of 500 seats to host League One games, and admits it is grateful to the RFL for the dispensation. In reaching its decision, the RFL took into account the recent investment in the stadium and its subsequent refurbishing. And I would guess the fact that Oldham didn't really have anywhere else where they could afford to play and rock up at. But now League One clubs can't say that Bradford are the only people getting special treatment.
Makes a change.
Exactly. Everyone gets special treatment. You just have to wait your turn.
Yeah.
A bit of news.
No, I mean...
Sorry, go on.
I mean, sorry, yeah, just obviously it makes total sense. I mean,
It's White
what
Bank,
else?
innit? Vestaker Stadium, really.
I don't know.
It's where they
I,
were
I
at a
mean,
couple of years ago, and then had to move away, and because it wasn't no good. So I think that's what I think, but I might be guessing wrong.
this is the trouble when I presume this is a renamed stadium, isn't it?
Yeah, it's
This is
if
always
my
my trouble
computer
with
was not
renamed
being such a pain,
stadiums.
I would get it up in front of me. But yeah,
It just makes sense, doesn't it? It
it
just makes
it
sense.
must be, it must be. Let's have a look. Let's take a stadium. That sounds like a sponsor, doesn't it? That Vestacare,
Yeah,
not
see,
based Vestaker.
Vestacare. See,
Vestacare.
I had it as Vestacare. Yeah,
Yeah, it is
Vestacare.
Vestacare. It is White Bank Stadium. Yeah, there you go.
There you go. Yes,
Capacity
there you go.
1500, built in 1992. They're the Wikipedia stats. Uh,
Well, there you go.
on there. Right, okay. New Zealand Warriors captain line from down under here. New Zealand Warriors captain Roger Tuivasa-Sheck has signed a new 4-year deal with the club. The contract extension is one of the longest in the club's history, with it seeing him remain at Mount Smart Stadium till the end of the 2022 season. So obviously tying up one of the key assets there, the New Zealand Warriors. We're
Yeah,
going to start getting a bit more NRL news and comment, I suppose, as the season kicks off this week. You
I guess
excited
so.
for that?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, I caught a lot of it last year, more NRL than Super League last year, to be honest with you. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I mean, the Warriors are in, you know, a real need of kind of leaders and people to kind of drive the club forward. I mean, I think he'd say himself he hasn't hit the heights. I think the injury in his first year really set him back. I think was it a
Yeah,
knee injury?
yeah. It was basically they went through one season with like Sam Tompkins basically being the player they were expecting to do some stuff for them, and him being out all year injured. To the next year, bringing in Tuivasa-Sheck as his replacement, and the same thing happening basically to him. So, yeah, that put pay to him, and you always worry with a player like that it's going to take a little time to come back because he relies so much on his lateral footwork.
Yeah. So
Um,
the last thing you want to do, last thing you want is kind of concerns about your ligaments if you're sidestepping and as and there isn't another player in league who can step like this guy can, or certainly
exactly.
how he could. So
Yeah.
so when he signed, I thought it was a great signing. I mean, I don't know whether it been a 4-year deal, whether it's a little bit more realistic financially, because apparently it was a money bags deal last
I
time.
think it was
So
like a three-year, $10 million signing or something ridiculous. A
when you put
huge. Sorry, or 1 million, whatever the big end. Not it wouldn't have been 10 million, would it? It would have been 1 million. But yeah, that sounds about right.
it was a
It was
it
on
was a
hundreds of
lot.
thousands, yeah,
It were a
of
lot.
dollars, yeah. Right
But yeah,
before we do the Challenge Cup fourth round draw fixtures and run through those, a couple of stories that happened today after we put our rundown together, Alan. Um, Keegan Hurst has signed a 1-year extension at Wakefield. Any quick reaction to that one?
good deal for player, definitely. Obviously, I think he's been mainly playing off the bench. If I remember, if I remember kind of from
Yeah,
what I've seen
yeah,
of
predominantly,
Wakefield.
yeah. He's not really let him
Um,
down, has he?
no,
In the step up from
he's a solid
Championship.
player.
Yeah,
The kind of player that you need. You can't underestimate the step up from Championship to Super League every week, and even if that's in 15, 20 minute kind of bursts, then it's still a massive step up. So yeah, good on him for getting a year extension.
and a reasonable personality to have around Super League, given his appearances on TV shows like First Dates and.
And appearing in, but kind of obviously topics of books and all that
Yeah.
kind of stuff. So you need personalities, don't you? And he's definitely one of those.
One of the biggest stories from today, the RFL have announced that they're going to move their head offices from a quiet, leafy suburb of Leeds to the Etihad campus in Manchester to set up a new sporting excellence centre for Super League and um, to basically run all the development of the sport out of there alongside the the administration of the game, and it's one of the first formally announced moves into this new Etihad campus. So they're going to be on the doorstep of the whole Manchester City regime, as well as other sports that are going to be expected to be moving to that area. So what do you think of this move? It's caused quite a stir. If anyone was listening to the Rugby League